Behind me is the 88D Doppler radar at the National Weather Service office in Indianapolis, Indiana. In fact, it's conveniently located right here next to the Indianapolis International Airport. We will go into weather radar in more detail later on in the semester when we get to thunderstorms and severe weather. Hi friends, meteorologist Tapp here with a very quick update for our meteorology class. Over the last several weeks, we've been covering meteorological measurements, which looked at weather stations near the surface of the earth, near the ground where we live, right? So when you launch your weather app on your smartphone and it's showing you current conditions, it's likely showing you that from a weather station at your nearest airport. And then we introduced the concepts of air masses and fronts and mid-latitude cyclones because, and I like to introduce this to the class up front instead of waiting later in the semester, it's because these are weather features and big storm systems that we'll see move through the United States during the course of the semester. We've already had a couple good cold fronts move through Texas. And then we very recently went through a learning module on the atmosphere, which introduced the layers of the atmosphere, the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere, which are all defined by the vertical structure of air temperature. And unlike the weather stations that are based at the weather stations on the ground, we measure the atmosphere with a weather balloon. It's like a little tiny weather station. We put on a balloon and we launch it through the troposphere. The third weather map you'll be taking a look at is a surface weather map from a very special severe weather day. Now, if you look at the time date stamp at the bottom of the map, you'll see that it occurs on May 20th, 2013 at 00 UTC. So it's up to you to know if it's at 6 or 7 p.m. Either way, to go along with the radar, here is the radar from that particular event. And we can see that there is a line of storms that developed in Oklahoma. Now, if we zoom in on that, as you can see in this animation, we're seeing radar data on top of a gradient of color which represents dew point. There is the dry line that sparked off these thunderstorms. The tornado produced by that severe thunderstorm in Moore, Oklahoma is one of dozens and hundreds of tornadoes that I've chased in my career.
You can hear the roar. Jeez.
That's a whole house. That's a roof.
Do you hear that, George? Now, in addition to the radar data, we can look at other data from that surface map. We can look at pressure, we can look at wind, we can look at air temperature and dew point temperature to determine where is the area of low pressure, that's the mid-latitude cyclone, and where's the cold front and a warm front. Now, the dry line's down in Oklahoma, I've already told you that. So now we need to look at pressure data to find out where is that little area of lowest pressure. We will then look at wind data to see where is the wind going counterclockwise. That's going to be the center of low pressure, which is the mid-latitude cyclone. And thinking back to our mid-latitude cyclone lecture, we're looking for a cold front and a warm front attached to the area of low pressure. So we'll look at air temperature data. Where is the temperature changing more than 10 degrees, both for the cold front and the warm front? At the dew point temperature map, we can see where the warm, humid air is coming from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up into the Great Plains and even across the Midwest. And we're looking for the boundary between that warm, humid air where there's a cold front and also where it's surging northward as a warm front. Because we think back to the mid-latitude cyclones lecture where there's an area of low pressure that has a cold front to the south and a warm front off to the east. And that was happening on this particular severe weather event day that produced damaging tornadoes in Oklahoma.
Oh man, look at that big piece of debris. Big piece of debris.
If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the discussion forum or shoot me a text or email. I'll see you in the next update.